Hey, everybody, and welcome to the deep dive. We're going to do a deep dive today on something called social cost benefit analysis. Have you ever heard of this?
I have.
Well, for anyone who hasn't, it's basically like it's looking beyond just like the money aspect of a project, right? It's really thinking about the impact it has on society as a whole,
Yeah, it's like a more holistic picture,
a more holistic picture.
not just for like a particular company or,
Yeah.
a group or whatever, but for like everybody.
Like, imagine like a new highway gets built and it like cuts through a beautiful forest.
Mhm.
So on one hand, it's like, oh, that's going to save commuters a bunch of time. But then it's like, wait a minute, what about all the trees?
Right.
What about the impact on like the wildlife and stuff? Those are costs that we have to think about.
For sure. And it's about, with SCBA, it's about weighing
Okay.
those trade-offs and making, better decisions.
So where did this whole idea even come from?
Well, it's been around for a while.
Real.
Yeah, early economists back in the 1800s, people like Jules Dupuit,
Okay.
recognized that you can't just look at the financial stuff. Like there's more to it than that.
Yeah.
But it really gained traction in the 20th century, I would say, as people got more concerned about the environment and just, social equity in general.
Right. It's like maybe focusing only on profits all the time. Maybe that's not the best way to do things.
Exactly. And it makes sense. You think about like the rise of industrialization
Yeah.
and all the environmental problems that came with that.
Oh, for sure.
Like all of a sudden, it wasn't just like how much money a factory could make,
Yeah.
but it was like, what kind of pollution is it putting out? How many resources is it using? What's the impact on the people who live nearby?
So it's like people started asking those tougher questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
And SCBA is sort of a way to grapple with that,
Mm-hmm.
to actually think about, instead of just looking at a project on its own, it's looking at the ripple effects, all the unintended consequences,
The good and the bad.
the good and the bad. Exactly.
I was reading about this huge dam project in India, the Narmada Dam,
Yes.
and it was really controversial, right?
It was very controversial.
What were some of the issues there?
Well, on the surface, it was designed to provide irrigation and hydroelectric power,
Okay.
which sound like good things.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds good.
But the social costs were pretty big. I think thousands of people were displaced from their homes, ancestral land.
Oh, wow. So there's like, it's not always a simple equation,
Right.
It can seem like a good thing on the surface, but then,
There are a lot of hidden costs.
yeah.
And that's what SCBA is all about.
Yeah.
Trying to tease those out. And in that case, with the dam, there were, environmental costs too. We're talking about loss of biodiversity, impacts on the ecosystem of the river. It's complex.
How do you measure that? Like, how do you put a price tag on something like the loss of a species or a community having to move?
That's one of the really tough things about SCBA. I mean, how do you quantify,
Right.
something that doesn't really have like a dollar value you can just put on it? There are different ways, economists have come up with methods. Like, for example, you might do surveys to see how much people value a particular resource, like a forest or a lake.
Okay.
Or you can use statistical models to, try to estimate the economic impact of, say, health problems caused by pollution.
So you're kind of comparing apples to oranges sometimes.
Yeah, you are a little bit. And, there's always room for argument about how these things should be measured. But the important thing is to at least try to account for them, even if it's not, perfect. You
Right.
got to start somewhere.
So we've been talking about kind of the downsides, the social costs. But what about the flip side? What are some examples of social benefits?
Well, even with the dam example, right?
Okay.
Even though it caused all those problems we talked about, it did bring some significant benefits to some areas. It provided irrigation,
Yeah.
for agriculture,
Okay.
so that boosted productivity,
Yeah.
helped people make a living. It's not all, black and white.
So there's like winners and losers, basically.
Yeah, and
Like
so
it's a complicated web, not a simple good or bad.
Exactly. And that's where SCBA helps us, to try to untangle that web and make better decisions.
Okay, let's switch gears a little bit. What about something closer to home, like building a new factory? How would SCBA come into play there? Like, what sorts of things would we have to consider?
Well, typically a company would just look at things like, labor costs, access to resources, how much is it going to cost to ship things, that kind of stuff.
Right, like the basic financial stuff.
Right. But SCBA pushes us to think about the bigger picture,
Yeah.
social impact.
So, like, what kind of jobs are going to be created? Will it be enough to actually live on? What about the environmental impact?
Exactly. Will there be a lot of pollution? Will it strain local resources? like water or energy, These are all things that need to be factored in.
Okay, so we're thinking about, beyond just that company and their bottom line, we're thinking about the community as a whole.
Right. And it's not just about the negatives.
Okay.
We also have to consider the potential social benefits. So, for instance, is it going to create jobs? Is it going to help the local economy grow?
Okay.
Is it going to provide training and, development opportunities for workers? Is it going to contribute to the tax base?
Oh, right. So we could have more money for schools and stuff.
Exactly. Parks, libraries, all that.
So it's like this multifaceted equation.
It is. You're weighing the costs and benefits,
Okay.
trying to see what the overall impact's going to be.
And the goal isn't always to have zero social costs.
Right, because that's usually not realistic.
Yeah.
It's more about making decisions where you're minimizing the negative impacts and maximizing the benefits for everybody.
This is really making me think differently about how, we make decisions as individuals and as a society. We need to be more mindful of all the ripple effects that come from our choices.
Absolutely. And SCBA is a way to do that. It's about thinking long-term, broadening our perspective.
Okay, so we talked about SCBA, what it is, where it came from, and how it applies to big projects like dams and factories. But how does this all relate to us? Like, on a personal level, how can we use SCBA in our everyday lives?
That's a great question. And it's something we're going to explore in more detail in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We're going to look at how these principles can help us make better decisions, even in our daily routines.
All right, so stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back to explore how SCBA can help us navigate the ups and downs of everyday life.
Sounds good.
Welcome back. This whole social cost benefit analysis thing has got me thinking, we've been talking about these huge projects, dams, factories, but how does this apply to our regular lives? Like what we do every day, is that even a thing?
It definitely is, yeah. Think about it like this. Every single choice we make, it has these little ripple effects. Everything from what we decide to buy to the food that we eat to how we get to work, all those things. They have an impact. They make a difference.
Okay. Yeah, I get that. But how do we apply SCBA to that?
Well, you could start by just, being a little more aware of those ripple effects.
Yeah.
Like, let's say you're getting your morning coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Do you grab a disposable cup on your way out the door?
Yeah, sometimes I do. Not
Okay.
guilty.
Well, so think about the cost of that. It's going to end up in a landfill.
Yeah.
And it takes resources to make it, to ship it, all that. What if you brought your own reusable mug instead?
Okay. So that's like one little change I could make.
Exactly.
What about something bigger, like buying a car?
Mm-hmm.
That definitely has ripple effects.
Right, because most people, when they're choosing a car, they just think about, the price.
Yeah.
How many miles per gallon does it get? Is it safe? But SCBA says, we need to think about the bigger picture. Like, how was this car even made?
Oh, okay.
Was it produced in a way that was fair to the workers?
Mm.
That didn't trash the environment?
So, are the factory conditions okay?
Mm-hmm.
And what about the stuff they use to build the car, like the materials?
All of that, and then there's also the ongoing impact, right?
Right.
Like, how much gas does it guzzle? Does it pollute the air a lot? Those are all social costs that we have to consider.
So it's about kind of taking a step back and looking at the whole system.
Right, exactly.
Not just me and what I want.
And then on the flip side,
Right.
think about the benefits.
Okay.
Like, how's that car going to be used? Is it going to help you connect with your community?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to be able to volunteer or help people get around?
Okay. Yeah, I'm starting to see how this kind of changes your thinking.
Yeah.
It's not just about, me. It's about everyone else, too.
Yeah.
And I guess it doesn't mean we have to be perfect, right?
No, of course not. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
It's more about just being more intentional. Like, maybe you can't afford the most eco-friendly car out there,
Right.
but you could decide to drive less. Carpool more often. Take public transportation when you can.
Right. It's about making those little changes.
Yeah.
Finding that balance.
And hopefully those little changes, they'll add up over time.
Mm-hmm. Maybe even inspire bigger ones.
And remember, it's not about feeling guilty or getting overwhelmed. It's about, making choices that feel good to you, that align with what you believe in, and, making the world a little better in the process.
Okay, I like that. Coffee cups, cars, I'm getting it. What are some other, everyday choices where this could come in?
Well, think about what you eat. You try to buy local produce,
Mm-hmm.
supporting local farmers. That helps build a more resilient food system.
Right.
And it cuts down on all the transportation, all the shipping, which is good for the environment.
And it probably tastes better, too.
Probably does, yeah.
For sure.
What about the stuff you buy for your home?
Okay.
Like, think about what it's made of. Is it sustainable? Will it last a long time, or will you have to throw it out in a year?
So it's about being a smarter shopper,
Mm-hmm.
thinking about, the whole life of the product, not just like, oh, I need this now.
And don't forget about energy. Like, yeah, it might cost more upfront to get energy-efficient appliances,
Mm-hmm.
but you'll save money in the long run,
Okay.
and you'll be helping the planet.
It's like, think globally, act locally.
There you go.
Our choices, they might seem small, but they add up.
They do.
Like all those people who started buying organic food or pushing for better packaging, look what happened.
Like, it's changing the market.
It's actually pretty amazing to think about. Like, we really do have more power than we think.
We do. And SCBA gives us a way to use that power more wisely.
Mm-hmm.
It's about looking beyond just ourselves, thinking about the long term, about, our communities and the environment.
I like that. It's not about being perfect. It's about being more aware,
Yeah.
making choices that match up with what we believe.
That's what matters.
Okay, so we've talked about how we can use SCBA for everyday things, like buying a car, choosing what we eat, being smarter shoppers. But is there ever a time when, just regular cost-benefit analysis is enough?
That's a good question. And it kind of gets to the limits of any tool, right? Like, there are times when the simple approach is fine. If you're making a decision that doesn't really have much of a social impact,
Like deciding whether to buy a new pair of shoes or just get mine fixed?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But even then, I think it's still good to be mindful of the potential costs and benefits,
Okay.
even if they seem small.
Yeah.
Like those shoes, were they made ethically? What are they made of? What happens to them when you're done with them?
Okay, so it's not about like agonizing over every single decision,
Yeah.
but just being aware.
Just being aware, trying to do the right thing.
Okay, I can do that.
SCBA is a way to broaden our perspective, not to make us feel trapped.
This has been, I feel like I'm looking at the world differently now, and it's actually exciting, not scary.
That's great. It's about
Yeah.
shifting our focus from me to we,
Yeah.
from just the short term to the long term.
Okay, so we're wrapping up this part of our deep dive. What are some of the biggest challenges or, maybe roadblocks that come up when we try to use SCBA for everyday things?
I think one of the toughest ones is just getting the information,
Right.
It's not always easy to find out how things were made or what the environmental impact is or where your money's actually going when you buy something.
So there's a lot of like research involved.
Yeah.
And even then, how do you know who to trust?
Right, that's true. But there are resources out there. There are groups that can help, consumer watchdogs, sustainability organizations. Even some companies are trying to be more open about how they do things.
So we have to be willing to dig a little deeper.
Yeah, be proactive.
Do our homework.
Exactly. And again, it's not about being perfect.
Right.
It's about making progress, learning as you go, doing the best you can with what you know.
I think that's a good point to end on. It's about, like you said, being empowered, not feeling guilty.
Yeah.
Being mindful, not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And just remembering that those little choices can actually make a big difference.
Absolutely. And I think that leads perfectly into our last part of this deep dive, where we're going to look at how all these individual choices can actually add up to a more just and sustainable world.
Okay, sounds good. Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back to explore the bigger picture of SCBA and how it can help shape a better future. Welcome back to the deep dive. So we've been looking at this idea of social cost-benefit analysis, how it works for big projects, but also for just like our everyday choices. But what does it all mean? Like, what's the point of all this?
Well, it's like we've been putting together a puzzle, right?
Sure.
Looking at all these little pieces, now we get to step back and see the whole picture, see how SCBA can actually help us build a better world.
Okay, so we're talking like a more fair world.
Yeah, more fair, more sustainable. That's the idea.
But is that even possible? Like, can all our little individual choices really make that much of a difference?
Well, remember how we were talking about consumer demand? Like how that drives what companies do?
Yeah.
When enough people start thinking about the social costs and benefits of what they buy, they start choosing things that are made ethically, that don't hurt the environment, that support their local community, that sends a message.
So, like, companies start to notice, right?
Exactly.
If nobody's buying stuff that's bad for the planet or, made by people who aren't treated fairly.
Right. They got to change what they're doing.
Like voting with your wallet.
Exactly. And as more people demand transparency and, they want to know what's going on behind the scenes, companies have to start being more accountable.
I've noticed that, yeah. Like, more and more companies are talking about ethical sourcing and sustainability and all that.
It's not just a marketing ploy anymore. Consumers are smarter. They do their research. They want more than just a good deal. They want to know that their money is going towards something good.
So it's like this feedback loop.
It is.
Like what we buy affects how companies act, and that shapes the whole market, and then we get more good choices.
Exactly. And it's not just about buying stuff. It's about influencing governments, too.
Uh-huh. How so?
Well, governments are using SCBA more and more these days.
Really?
Yeah, like when they're planning big projects or making environmental rules or even social programs.
Okay.
They're realizing that they can't just look at the money. They got to look at the bigger picture.
So instead of just asking, like, will this create jobs? They're also asking, how will this affect the environment?
Yeah.
How will it affect different groups of people?
Exactly. And that leads to better solutions in the end. More sustainable, more fair.
Can you give me an example? Like, how is SCBA actually changing stuff?
Well, let's think about renewable energy. In the past, if you just looked at the numbers,
Okay.
fossil fuels seemed cheaper.
Right.
But that didn't account for all the social and environmental costs, all the damage they caused.
Yeah, like climate change, pollution.
Health problems. When you factor all that in, fossil fuels aren't so cheap anymore. And that's why we're seeing so many governments investing in renewables now. Solar, wind power. Even though it might cost more up front, they know it's better in the long run. For everyone.
Okay, so that's a good example of how SCBA can lead to more sustainable policies.
Right. And another one is transportation.
Okay.
Like a lot of cities are using SCBA now to plan better ways to get around.
Oh, okay.
Investing in public transit, bike lanes, making it easier for people to walk.
So it's not just about building more roads for cars.
No, it's about reducing traffic, cleaning up the air, making cities more livable.
Yeah.
And those investments have all kinds of positive ripple effects too. They create jobs, they improve public health, they make cities more attractive, so the economy benefits.
It's like this domino effect.
It is.
Like good choices lead to more good choices.
Exactly. And that's what we're talking about, a better future for everyone, where the economy and society and the environment, they all thrive together.
I gotta say, I'm feeling pretty hopeful after all this.
Me too.
It's easy to get bogged down in all the bad stuff, but this gives me hope that we can actually turn things around.
Yeah, and remember, it's not just up to the big guys. We all have a part to play in this.
Right, we talked about that. Every choice we make, it matters. But sometimes it feels like, my little choices are just a drop in the ocean.
Think about it like this. One raindrop might not seem like much, but when millions of raindrops fall together, they can carve out canyons. They can make whole ecosystems flourish.
Wow, I like that.
Our choices, when we combine them with the actions of others, they can have a huge impact.
So what's the takeaway? What do we want our listeners to remember from this deep dive?
That SCBA is more than just some fancy economic term. It's a way to make better decisions in our own lives and for the world as a whole. It's about thinking bigger, thinking long-term, and knowing that we can make a difference.
I love that. So listeners, as you go about your day, remember that SCBA lens. Think about how your choices affect others and the planet. What positive impact can you make? Remember, we're all in this together, and every choice counts.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.
We'll see you on the next one.